Here was a ship of dreams, known as the ship of dreams apparently, according to the film. And I'm just listening to the film. That's Hollywood. I don't know whether it was or not. But you can understand it. It was truly a beautiful ship. And when you see the internals of that ship from actual shots, you can understand it was beautifully done. And none of its sisters, Olympic or Britannic, were anywhere near the finish of that particular ship. She was a fast ship. She probably wasn't even the fastest, actually, because she still had pretty old engines, because they still now had got turbines. So why they went put those old reciprocating engines in, I don't know. But in any event, she was a magnificent ship. The captain knew everything that was wrong, and so did his crew. They didn't seem to understand that a ship like that, especially that particular ship, didn't have a big enough rudder. And I don't know what they did on their tests, but if they'd done the tests, they would have known that to try and swing that ship around, she was not going to move that quickly. The best thing they would have done, as they said, would be to hit the thing head on. There would have been a whole lot of people injured, perhaps, and you would have lost the whole bow, but you wouldn't have sunk the ship. There's just no doubt about that. And what they did is a glancing blow, taking all the roots along the side, it brought us down. People love controversies about all sorts of things, but it's pretty clear what happened. And the arrogance caused him to ignore all the ice warnings. The last ones apparently didn't get through. And because the message is going out, and it was one of those things. When you look at some of the aircraft accidents that occur, you see that it isn't one thing; it's a whole series of events that cause the final event, which brings the whole darn plane down. And this, in actual fact, was a long series of events. For instance, the captain didn't understand this ship and its ability to turn, didn't understand how long it took to stop or do anything, quite frankly, because he was coming from a sailing age, not from a steam age. And these ships, although well designed, this particular ship apparently didn't have big enough rudders, and it couldn't grip the water to push it around, and so it reacted slower. So there's a lot of other things that went into this accident, that the ignorance about how to approach ice, the fact he didn't go at least another 10 to 20 miles south. That's all he had to do. But he's trying to shave off time to try and make and win that ribbon. And he was going just across the edge of the ice pack. There's a lot of things involved in that. But, of course, the whole ship represented a micronism of the society it was then, and the horrific situation where they were sending off ships with hardly any, lifeboats with hardly any ship people in, and keeping all the steerage passages, they called them, right at the bottom there, and they couldn't get out till everything was gone. And that was a terrible situation. No wonder, people revolted against that sort of situation. But having been a micronism and depicting a disaster in 1912, and look what happened in 1914-18. It was a presage of a huge war that occurred, that did away with all those kings and emperors and all that society where these people were so, they thought themselves mini-gods, the whole lot of them. And today we've seen an ongoing signs like the Twin Towers, etc., and we've been in ongoing wars, and we've been seeing more and more bombs coming at us from the Muslim side, and yet we have all this mighty power, yet we're not using it as we could, and we seem to be apologetic to our enemies, and the net result is that right now we're on the edge of some sort of cataclysm. I don't think there's any people who don't believe that. And if you had been studying the Bible for the last 40 years or 50 years as I have, you'd actually be living through it over a period of time. You'd know what was going to happen. We have been expecting various things to happen, and they had. Like back in the 1917, they were expecting Jerusalem to fall because the Bible said it would. That was the end of a 2,520 year curse on that city, and it fell exactly on time to the very hour. To the very hour it fell, and that's a whole new study. What we've done is, because of YouTube, we've been able to put a lot of stuff onto the internet and a lot of other stuff onto this website up here, and because of YouTube's fantastic freedom of putting stuff on like this and other things, information is getting out from really erudite men and very clever men who's dug in the dirt and been covered in the heat and dust to find out things. But because of power and wealth and vested interests, this information is not getting out. It really is not getting out. These people are dying of frustration. Let us get the information out. Look at it, and you'll see a lot of it out there. But as I say, if it wasn't for YouTube, we would not have this ability to do this. And when we listen to this music, and I've just been looking at a lot of the music from the past, from Purcell and Handel and all these things, we must remember that a lot of this music is based from that bass that comes right the way through, and these lilts and these huge melodies that come through seem to come from these men who sort of heard these things in their head, and they had to write it down. And Yahweh says that he works with people's minds before they come out the womb. And that is why I'm so dead against the abortion, which has killed, since abortion started apparently, according to a recent report, somewhere in the order of 5 million British babies. So now the British government says it's got to import people, all these people coming, who are not, a lot of them, on our side. Instead of having loyal people doing the work for the nation, we've got now foreigners coming in and occupying huge tracts of our land that seem to think they have the right to take our country over. And, that is unacceptable. I mean, if we said we're going to take over Saudi Arabia because we put a few people there, I think the Saudi Arabians would start killing us, and the same in others Muslim countries as well. Matter of fact, you're not even allowed to put your Bible out, and, where we're helping them put the mosques up, they won't even allow you to read a Bible or tell anybody about it. It is that vicious. So we, in actual fact, have got to sort of say to these people, over my dead body and probably many of your dead bodies, you're not going to take this nation over. You're not going to have this beastly Sharia law in this country, where people lose their, women especially, lose their rights and have to wear these terrible dresses which cause rickets and are so unhealthy. Now, I honestly believe that we have got to take back our country, and from Europe. But this is happening because we have lost our vision. We don't know who we are. If you knew who you were, if you knew what this nation was about, and I don't have time to tell you on here, but if you go through to that site there, you'll be able to see. And as I say, a lot of this would not be possible without YouTube and, its ability. And, that was also prophesied, that at the end time knowledge would be increased, and there's no doubt in our minds that knowledge has increased. When we came into 1805, the horse was still the fastest animal on the earth, and straight after that the steam engine was, the rocket, Stephenson's rocket. And from that moment on, this nation started this huge development of new ideas, new inventions, and then we got to the Titanic, which we see here with those huge reciprocating engines. And so we have seen so much, rockets to the moon, we've seen, like the internet, communications take off. And of course the one thing is that the prophecy says that every man will see this event of Yahshua returning in power and glory. Now that was not possible because the earth is round before. Now it's possible. And this became very obvious to me when I saw on that Qantas Airlines plane, the drama when parts of the plane were falling off, and people were calmly photographing what was going on as the plane plunged out the atmosphere to repressurize the cabins as they lost pressure in that situation. And there you saw things were happening, and then it became perfectly obvious to me what those meanings meant, and that is what the Bible is about. The man who wrote, for instance, the book of Daniel didn't understand it. And he said it, I don't understand what's here. He said, no, Daniel will sleep, and then the people at the end time will understand all this. And the same about the book of Ezekiel and the Revelation and Matthew 24 and all the book of Luke and all these books. They are prophecies for the future, because the Bible is about this time now. People couldn't read it before because they couldn't afford the Bible. It's only now we can get a Bible and start to understand it. Thank you very much for listening. And please, I beg of you, have a look at that there. And remember, this brought because of YouTube's unselfishness in being able to allow us to download all this stuff. Thank you very much.